Hello, fellow druids. I'm going to talk about probably quicker than usual. Well, maybe we'll see how it goes. Tournament report that I had ended up being a 3-rounder. Up again in Games Universe, just the way it worked out this month. Their tournaments were pretty short time span between them. If you recall some of my videos, mostly probably from the week before this one, as of the time of this recording, I was talking a lot about Baldur 2, and I played a few games leading up to this event with the notion that maybe with my Una pairing, where I've sort of been looking at Una as one of my main drops, that maybe considering Baldur 2 as the off list instead of Kruger 2 would be something I would try. So I played about 4 or 5 games leading up to the event, and just as a quick amount of disclosure, in an average week, I'm gonna get 1 to 3 games, and then if there's a tournament, add 3 or 4. So that's kind of the amount of games I'm actually able to realistically get in. I think at certain times I can possibly push that up, and sometimes it can kind of work out to be a few less even. So just to give, I know some people can get in 10 games a week easily. Some people can only get 1 game a month in. So, but anyways, I just wanted to give that a caveat since I'm talking about it. And so I decided to take Baldur. Real quick, the list I settled on was Baldur, 2 Woldwrath, Megalith, 3 Wold Watchers, both units of Shifting Stones, both Sentry Stones, all 5 Blackclad solos, and a Gallows Grove. And then I paired that with my usual Una 2 list. As it turns out, I didn't play Una 2, which is good. Part of the reason I wanted to play Baldur at this event was to, realistically, that was the last games I was going to get in before MuseCon, and I wanted to see if basically I needed a little bit more of a test to see if I was going to like the list, or if I felt like it was going to accomplish the goal that it set forth to, and so forth. So I'm glad in that sense, I'm glad I dropped it into more games, I think. But as it'll turn out, we'll see how the tournament turned out. So in round 1, this tournament ended up only having, I think, 10 players. Round 1, I get paired up against Zach Watson. In my opinion, Zach is the best player in Milwaukee. I think he qualified 1 year for War Machine Weekend, actually, maybe. Regardless, I think he's mechanically probably the best player. He's been playing Haley 2 and just forgot her name, Jake's 2, both in Storm Division. I think that way he feels like he always has a strong drop into Nemo 3 and a few other things. He has his reasons. I think he also sees that as the better armor cracking solution. He knows he's getting Baldur with... I think, honestly, I could have played Una 2 into these lists. And part of what I'm also evaluating is, how would Kruger have been? And I think Kruger would have been fine here. I think both of his lists are kind of blanked by in some ways, by the lightning immunity. And then he also, I think all his ranged attacks were lightning. So then I just have to make sure I play very safely, keeping Kruger safe from things like TK and whatnot. And yeah. So, I dropped Baldur because I feel like I can play Una, but given the matchup disparity, Baldur 2 is a safer drop. This is Spread the Net, and essentially, something you should know is a huge base can contest the flag, the circle zone, and the rectangle, and score the rectangle presumably on the right on that scenario. So you can actually use your, and Baldur 2 for us is probably one of the unique exceptions to that. We only currently have 3 huge bases, and the Storm Raptor is not very tanky, and the Fulcrum would be pushing it. It's tanky, but it's not like Woldwrath tanky. So regardless, I deploy the Woldwrath on that side, deploy Wold Watchers sort of in a in like like kind of like this. And then I just slowly move up. I don't feed on one. He wins he wins the die roll. I pick a side that's pretty conducive to me. There's a building in the middle that's a little bit toward me. And on turn 1, when I look out there, I actually realize that I'm safer if I charge and stand behind that building than standing back farther, because he's going to have a hard time drawing line of sight. So I throw out 2 roots, do that. Megalith puts out the 3rd roots, so all the watchers have it. Everything else stays back a bit. And he sends his cavalry into me. He does not... he does like 6 damage to a Wold Watcher, and that's it. Which was probably slightly under average, but not terribly. I mean, they're pretty tanky. Pardon me. Oh, sorry, I misspoke there. Yeah, he ran up on... I got ahead of myself there. He ran up on 1. I slowly moved up and put those spells up. I also used each of my Watchers, made a shot into his lances. I was actually able to get 2, needing 8s to hit, and then I boosted the damage. Stoneform them all, roots them all. Then he charges in, puts his Stormclad on one of them, does, like I said, I don't know, it was like 6 or 7 damage. It was very bad. Puts a couple attacks into another one to the left of it, doesn't even do, maybe does a quarter of its grid at most, and the one on the right also stays pretty unscathed. But he feats, he's managed to get all my battle group with that. That's fine. And then he then as a result of that, I'm pretty stuck in. I have my Gallows Grove able to score my flag. He put Anastasia into the zone on my right, so I would like to kill her, contest, and pretty much I just want to jam into him because his Stormclad is really the only thing that consistently can do damage without without charging. Thorn does a little bit, but basically it's a Stormclad at that point. The Storm Strider can do a little bit of hurt, but it's a little dependent on how many power tokens he gets, things like that. I'm able to use my Sentry Stone to kill off his, what's his name? Acosta that had charged my Jack. That's the only thing contesting that flag. I put the Gallows Grove on it. A Watcher is able to walk into his rectangle and stone form. I'm feeding this turn, by the way. So he stone forms everything. He'll have roots at the end. The Woldrath moves into his stuff. Another Watcher moves up to contest his flag. I'm able to clear out the zone using... I think I used the Blackclad Spray and the Woldrath Animus, actually. Balder put out a rock wall, maybe? Feeded. So at that point I score 2, contesting everywhere, and he can pretty much just flail at me. He tries to kill my Gallows Grove and Sentry Stone on the left. Doesn't get enough power tokens and boosts to make it happen, so they live. He contests my zone on the right, and then I just need to clear that zone out, basically, score the flag again, and that's it. And that's what I do. So, good game. He didn't really have... He was never really in that game, unfortunately. And his dice just didn't want to help him whatsoever with that. Round 2, I get paired up against Mr. Purple, Travis Marg. And he's got Convergence this time, which is actually something that I had not been mentally giving too many considerations to. Specifically Orion, who has Spell Piercer. So now he has Axis with basically all small base infantry, just lots of it. Like all the angels, all the little guys that he can fit, and a couple Warjacks. And I don't really love that list. I'm much more advantaged playing Balder into. The Orion has Spell Piercer though, so I don't really love Balder there, but I do have the Rockwall, and he's just got 3 heavies. I don't really love the Tep or Mage Side into Una either, so I'm sort of torn. I end up going with Balder. Hindsight, I feel like I should have just gone with Una. This game, what I learned and what happened was I was not aggressive enough with what I was doing. Though my battle group survived for quite a while, my support kept getting... And his dice were a little hot in this regard, but my support kept getting picked off, stones, solos, and whatnot, and he can make solo every turn. So I'm kind of losing out on the ability to score throughout the game, and that meant I needed to be able to play aggressive. And by the time I was able to do that, I also didn't have anything left that I could put with power on the Woldwrath, which meant I didn't kill. I was pretty unable to kill the one Axiom that I went in on. I was never able to get to the top, and basically I just did not pressure what he was doing enough, and he's eventually able to just ride out a scenario victory because I don't have enough left to do anything with. I don't kill one of the Axioms until real late, and it's with Baldur, and he tries to assassinate me to get some more points, but he doesn't. Yeah. So that's my round 2. Round 3 paired up into a Cygnar player. He's got Striker 2, Kane 3. I don't. We kind of were talking about he almost wanted to concede before the game started, actually, and I was like, that's fine if you don't feel like playing it. And then we kind of talked about that so much that I ended up playing Baldur 2. He plays Striker 2, which is what he had talked about. Long story short, I moved the Woldwrath probably an inch too far forward on the bottom 1. And don't cast Roots on it because I think it should be safe. And his dice don't roll like below an 8 on a single damage roll. And between the feat, positive charge, and the number of Stormlances he gets there, he kills my Woldwrath before I'm able to use it for anything. At which point, I've basically lost the game. I do get a lot more work done without it than I thought I would. But that's not enough to actually turn the tide here because I can't. Baldur has to be going in melee to get work done at this point because I just don't have any way to do so, and as a result, Striker is able to eventually get a charge on me, and I lose to Assassination. So 1 and 2 with the Baldur list. Sort of in review of Baldur here for me. I think I recognize that what happened in these games was probably not the fault of the list so much as the fault of me. But now I only have a few days to decide what I'm taking to MuseCon, and I have to consider that I think the issue with Baldur is I really need to know how far forward I can press my luck, and because I can't. If you listen to the 2 games where I lost, one game I lost because I wasn't far enough forward, and the other game I lost because I wasn't back far enough. And that's still something that I'm going to have to give some thought to. And I don't know, I'm not convinced yet that I've, at the time of this recording, that I feel confident taking Baldur. So now I need to look at, part of the reason for that was I was hoping Baldur would be able to play into some of the Warjack spam lists. I did not get to practice that, nor did the actual tournament games yield results, and Baldur's still boring. So I'm sort of in an interesting place where I may, maybe I revert back to Kruger. Maybe I pair Kruger with somebody other than Una. I do really like Una, and I do really think that she brings some unique strengths to some of my matchups, but, maybe not exactly the ones I need or want at this time. I'm gonna have to see as it gets closer. Probably I'll report sometime next week after the event on what happened there. But so that's the tournament. I believe one of the Cygnar players won. I forget his name. I think it's Nicholas. Good event. Always happy to head up there. The employees at the store are great. The players are great up there. The Chios are pretty great. It's always nice to catch up with everybody. So fun event. I learned a little bit of a harsh lesson. I've commented, I think this is one of the worst tournament results I've had at a local steamroller in maybe all of Mark III. So, which is okay. Certainly a little humbling from time to time is not a bad idea. And I did learn some things about Baldur and about the lists I want for what I can take to a more important event, and I think that's important. So, we'll see where my brain lands on that stuff. I'm going to be mulling it for a few days, but that's the result of that tournament. As always, if you like the content, feel free to hit the subscribe button, share us on social media, join in any of the conversations on Discord, Facebook, Twitter, yada, yada, yada. And we'll see you next time.